Hi, Fabian. Welcome to the show.
Hello, John. Thank you. I'm really happy to be here today.
Well, I'm happy to have you. You're a last minute guest that I filled in with somebody who had a cancellation. So here you are. You would have had to wait otherwise for a few more months, but here you are now. Great.
I'm
You,
super excited about that, and I'm glad that someone canceled, actually.
yeah, I guess it all works out, right? We're going to talk about your book, Unapologetically Bold. Before we do that, though, Fabian, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and what kind of work do you do, and why you wrote this book?
Yeah, so it's a long story, but I'm gonna try to make it short so it doesn't go too long. Well, I'm actually now a global learning and development executive. Actually, I'm the founder of a company that's called Fabienne Lindholm Rev Up Your Life. And I have been in the learning and development business for over 30 years, previously as an executive director for a company and training for others. And so really have brought up a lot of these elements throughout my life. But I didn't start in learning and development. I actually started in wellness and cosmetic and beauty as an esthetician. And what is an esthetician? I think people know now what an esthetician is,
For
but for
sure.
many, many years, when I would say I was an esthetician, people thought that I was doing something completely different. They had no clue who an esthetician was. And so my background is really into wellness, into taking care of people, helping people to feel better, more into relaxation, also helping people to feel better from outside in. And that's actually my love for people started right there because I wanted to help people from outside in. Skincare, massages, products, makeup helps people to feel good from the outside envelope into the inside. And
Mhm.
as I was in this wellness industry for so many years, as a massage therapist and as well as an educator down the line, a spa director, I discovered then I wanted to do more and I wanted to then do help people to feel better or find their best self from inside out. And
Okay.
that's kind of where things kind of started switching and the trigger of the book came along because in my professional life I've gone through I think about four different transformations
Hmm.
and I realized, and I was going through these transformation using the same method throughout. And many people kept telling me, Fabienne, you have to write a book about this because it's very insightful what you're doing. And there's so many people in our industry that want to be able to grow and move forward into their professional life, but they don't know how. And so that's how that book kind of came about, Unapologetically Bold.
And it has a subtitle here, How to Regain Self-Confidence Using the Transformation Cycle While Climbing the Corporate Ladder. Is this specifically for people who are climbing the corporate ladder, or can this be applied to anybody within a professional environment, say like myself? I never climbed a corporate ladder, but I did climb a technical ladder. I started out as an
Mhm.
assistant editor, became an ADR editor, then I worked in network, then eventually I ended up being a television editor with the responsibilities of editing an entire television show, which came later in life. So I climbed some sort of ladder. Would it help people like that?
Absolutely. I mean, the subtitle was to show that women can actually, because it's very much targeted to women, because
Okay,
my
of
experience
course.
is so focused in women, although there's a lot of men into the industry also, even more now than has ever been,
Hmm.
and a lot of neutral genders. So it is for everyone because the bottom line, this book is about self-confidence. We all need
Absolutely.
self-confidence.
Yeah.
Women needs more than
Hmm.
men. It is
I agree.
seen that way. Although I often, kind of argue that I think that women talks more about not being confident. Men don't really necessarily talk about it. And so that's probably why we feel like they're more confident. But in general, this book is about self-confidence, and it's
Right.
about resilience, and it's
Right.
about finding solution within the scope that we have in order to move forward and grow however we want. It doesn't have to be a corporate ladder. It doesn't have to be becoming an executive, but being able to grow, because human, our DNA is about growth. We are meant to grow all the time, whether it's growing physically
Mm-hmm.
and growing old or growing, more mature, but it's also growing mentally, emotionally. And
Yes.
that's what it's about. It's about growth.
What have you seen over at least the last, say, 40 years in terms of how things have changed for the good, and perhaps also gave us some impression that there are some new problems that the generation is facing, people who are like 50 years old or younger. How do you interpret that in your book?
So in the book, I talk a lot about how to use your past to move forward, because often we hear people saying, you need to get out of the comfort zone. You need to move on. You need to look forward. You need to just keep going. And it's not always true. I think in order to be our best self, we have to use our experience from the past. And we have to look at positive past experience and use those to create a new kind of refined self
Hmm.
as we move along in life. So, what I have seen a lot in the last, let's say, 20 years is that people are certainly more aware of wanting to be more the way they want to be, not necessarily what others want them to be. So that's the good part,
Hmm.
is that now there's a lot of tools out there, including coaching, which I address a little bit in my book, the transformation cycle, which is what I created in order to be able to regroup, go in your past, find things that happened that were absolutely incredible from your past, relive them, because sometimes it's like an old recipe, we bring it back, we add a little bit new ingredients in it, and then we modernize it. So we relive it, and then we decide if we want to continue to have that in our lives. So that's the transformation cycle, is regrouping, reliving, and remotion. So
Okay.
these are tools that allows people to say, I don't want to be what people telling me to be. I want to be who I want to be. And I want to be my best self, looking eventually at what I've done positively and what made me happy.
Hmm.
So that's the good part that I notice. The issue we are facing quite a bit right now, and I think for more mature generation, including myself, is we are seeing a lot of ageism inside the workforce. And so, which is actually creating a lot of loss of confidence for many people, whether it's women, men, gender neutral, because it feels like, people feel like they are expiring. And at the end, the more wisdom and the more experience we have, the more we can bring on the table. And I think the generation of Gen Xer, which is happening right now, is becoming more aware of it, and it is bringing it to the forefront. So it's bad and good. It's bad because it is there, and I know it's always been there. It's not just only right now, but it's being talked more right now. But the good part, it is being talked more, and people are bringing it forward, and now people are more aware of it. It's not really helping a lot of people in their 50s and 60s wanting to make changes in their professional life, but it is still, kind of bringing the conversation out. And I believe, again, the transformation cycle can be a tool included in coaching for the more mature workforce to continue to be relevant in their field, or to even explore something new, with, of course, some challenges, but it can be moved on and go beyond that, I believe.
Yeah. In this transformation cycle, it sounds to me that what you're talking about is going inside and finding inside of you the skills you have that you can then use. I guess transferable skills is the term that I had to do. Besides, I again went from film to tape to computer, and each step was a transferable skill. I had to dig deep to find out how can I make that work in this new medium. That's a really good thing. I want to ask something about ageism. You brought that up. Now, at my age, I've got all kinds of friends that I've known for a long time. I compare one friend with another. One friend invested properly and he took care of his investments and he was able to retire at 56 and he's perfectly happy not having to go to work. Another friend is now 70 years old and he's still scrambling to find out how his relevance is. He didn't invest money. He didn't take care of that. And so now he's just running around trying to figure out what to do with his life. Do you give any financial advice, or do you mention in your book that people should get good financial advice on top of taking care of themselves? Because that is a way of taking care of yourself.
So no, I don't give any financial advice. And if people want some, of course, there's plenty of other people out there. I don't address the financial aspect in saying, yes, you have to have this kind of as a foundation. I think we go back to that pyramid of Maslow where it's part of that foundation and it's really important. So something that I should probably add in my next edition. But no, it is not there, but it's certainly very relevant because it's part of the foundation. And yes, having enough money in order to sustain yourself and life in general is an important step. If people don't have enough saving, automatically they will keep being in that cycle of
Hmm.
I need my basic essential to be met. And that's where it's a challenge, certainly.
Okay,
To be able to get to the next level, you certainly or people certainly need to have that foundation created.
right. So you talk about self-confidence. What would be something that erodes self-confidence?
Oh my gosh, so many things. I think that every day we have something that happens that is going to kind of bite a little bit out of that self-confidence. I said that self-confidence is something that's never acquired. We have to work on it all the time. Just the small little things. For example, you go at work and someone's mentioned something negative to you, or in my case, when I was in service and I was servicing people, having a client's complaint automatically just takes all sort of things away from what you feel you're good at. So it's really challenging because we have to self trust and we have to keep being aware on when we feel that self confidence is slipping and knowing the tools to actually fill it back up. And so it's like a bucket of
Hmm.
water, that keeps being empty, and we have to fill it back up with everything that makes us feel confident. And I think, yeah, it happens every day. It happens. And sometimes it's not people around us may make mention certain things, and it's not their intention, but because of our belief or because of our past experience, that may strike a chord that makes us feel like, ooh, I'm not good enough. And I hear that all the time. I'm not good enough. So let's find out what are you good at, and
Mhm.
let's focus on what you're good at. And that's also the part of regrouping, going back in the past, finding all of the things that you're good at or what you're proud about being, and then just reusing that on on a regular basis, or as you said, transferring the skill to something else that helps to feel more confident again.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, I can see that, say, a person, a woman is in her 40s. She's university educated. She's had a career before, but something happened. Maybe there was layoffs. Maybe a different company took over, and personal issues also play into it. And then a book like this could help someone like that to learn about themselves a little more and their transferable skills and the transformation cycle that you speak of. Can this book also help at the very base point where the person just comes out of universities, is entering the workforce, and has dreams and goals of climbing the corporate ladder, as it were, or some sort of ladder, and yet perhaps is lost and not sure how to go about it? Can this book help with a person like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's for any stages in life, really. It could also, I mean, it's focusing more on work and professional, but the concept can be used also for personal things, and it can be used for small little things. I was explaining at one point in the book, I explained how I chose my new hobby in my mid 40s. I really felt like I needed something else in my life. I wanted to do something that was outside of work, outside of family, outside of kids, outside of all of this. And I couldn't figure out how what I wanted to do. So I used the transformation cycle to go back and regroup and figured out what are the things that I loved to do when I was a little girl, what did I love to do when I was a teenager. And all of a sudden I figured out that I loved running, and running became my new passion. And I've been running for 12 years now. I've ran 5 marathons, and that has become my way of stress relief as well as my hobby. So it could be used for anything that is about, I want to find something for me, whether it's when you're brand new coming out of school, or when you're in the middle of, as you said, a change in your life. It can be used anytime for anything. I've used it so much. And on the book, it's mostly my experience. So I'm not university educated, and it's always been kind of my little, things that would tickle me sometime. I
Yeah.
always felt like I was less because I had not gone through university. But I realized that going through my transferable skill and using the transformation cycle, I was able to grow and to get to a point from being an esthetician, which was great, loved it when I was young, to being an executive in learning and development globally, and going through all of these little steps that helped me to get there. So
Mhm.
it's really for anyone that wants to do a little bit of a change in their life.
If you suggest people should have an interest or a hobby, take up something just for their own sake, then that could help with your self-confidence as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Hobbies are amazing for that. And it's about yeah, in terms of self-confidence, because hobby, we do them out of passion,
Hmm.
and we do them without having that, kind of sticker prize attached to it,
Yeah,
where
right.
we just do them because we do them.
Hmm.
So automatically, naturally, it makes us feel so much more confident and bold because we just do that without thinking about it.
Yep.
So, and it's also stress relieving because when we do something with passion, then it takes the stress away. So I really believe it's super important to have a hobby, and to find something that makes you feel whole. That's what I said,
Yep.
wholesome and whole, at
Yep.
the end.
100%. I think you can guess what my hobby is.
What
You can
is your hobby?
you
What
can
you
just
doing
look.
right now, or what's just behind you?
I play guitar. I've been playing guitar since I've been 10. That makes me playing guitar now for 57 years. And sure, I tried it as a profession. Didn't work out, but I didn't stop playing guitar. And I can tell you, that is what gives me my self-confidence to do anything else, to do this show, to do the editing I did, to have my relationships. That's where I get my self-confidence. So I'm glad that you brought up hobby because I think it's very important. I remember I worked with an executive producer. And we went out to lunch or dinner, whatever it was afterwards. And I kept talking about my guitars and writing songs. And I was so excited because it was in a studio recording at the time. And he turned to me and said, I wish I had a hobby. I'll never forget that conversation. It was kind of sad. What do you mean you wish you had a hobby? Just go and have one. What's the problem? Just do it.
But that's the way. It's that you said, yeah, go get one, but sometimes it's not easy to find what really is deeply connected to you. You were lucky to find guitar, when you were
A child.
much younger,
Yeah.
so it's amazing when that happened. But there are people that get into retirement age or even middle age, like 50s,
Hmm.
and they've never had a hobby. And that's also what I think, coaching as well as the transformation cycle can actually help you to figure one
Great.
that you're really gonna like, and
Yeah.
that's gonna stick with you.
Okay.
So it's not sometimes not easy.
Okay. So now I'm looking at your book a little differently. I imagine that you had a lot of passion writing that book.
Yes, I'm a very passionate person, as you can tell.
Yeah.
I very passionate with life in general and with people. I found people fascinating. I
Hmm.
just love discovering new culture. So yes, it was fun. It was fun because it also made me realize what I had accomplished. And it also made me create the structure again from what I had done. So it was really fun to research certain things that deeply were in my heart and then I had used kind of naturally based on my experience, but getting more in depth to find the research, the professor, university professor, published article that would support some of the things that I really felt was important. So yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed it. I have to say that now I'm starting to take notes on how my second edition is going to
Okay.
be because
Yeah.
there's so many more things I can add
Hmm.
now that maybe in 2 years from now there'll be a second edition.
Cool. So now, how is your book being received?
It's been received really nicely and very well. I think most people that have looked and read it have found a little nugget of information, and that's all I wanted to do. I wasn't planning to write a book to be, a bestseller or to be,
Mm.
whatever. For me, it was, I just want each reader to pick up one thing they can use, one little nugget of information that makes them think and that they can apply it to their life. I also wrote the book in very small chapter. Actually, my son said to me, Mom, no one reads books anymore. No one's going to read your book. You better make sure that, it's easy to read. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to make it easy to read. So I made it in small little portion. So you can actually read for 10, 15 minutes and put it down and take it up again. I also made it where there's questions. So you can, there's worksheets in there. So there's
Okay, good.
questions you can answer for
That's good.
yourself with each category, like we've regroup, we've relive, and remotion. So it's very interactive. And I think people are really liking that. The fact that it's easy, short, and interactive.
Yeah, well, with a book with the content of your book, that's a good advice your son gave you. I guess some people like to read science fiction novels that are 400 pages long. There's a market for everything, but for the kind of book that you wrote, your son gave you good advice. And when was it published?
It was published last October
Okay.
2023.
All right.
So it's only been about 6 months or so, a little bit more than 6 months.
Now,
And it's doing okay.
okay, great, great. Now, we'll talk about your website in just a moment. I'll just, on the heels of what we just discussed, I understand you do some keynote speaking.
Yes, I do. I
Okay,
do. That's actually my little personal reward thing.
for
Love
sure.
keynote speaking. It's one of the things I love to do. And I've done this all my life, more or less. Small group, sometime larger group, others. But it's always about, transformation and about, growth, really.
Right. And I guess your book comes into play when you speak, and maybe you sell a few books at the time. So that's really good. And now let's talk about your website. It's a really nice looking website. What is it?
So the website is fabiennegl.com.
Okay. What can we see there?
Well, there's a lot there. Of course, there's information about me and where I come from and who I am and kind of a little bit of my journey. But I've also have a blog. I blog not as often as I should, I know, but I just blog whenever I feel like I have something interesting to say. There's a lot of many elements, and it's all really surrounding wellness and mental well-being, most of it. There's also videos of podcasts that I've done in the past. There's a link to my YouTube channel, as well as Instagram and Facebook. So there's a whole lot of information based mostly, as I said, on wellness and coaching, as well as some keynote speaking.
Excellent. Well, you're doing very well. I also went to your Instagram page and I looked at all the stuff you got there. You have a lot of things going on. You sound like you're really enjoying this.
It's kind of a passion that became a business. So it's
That's the
still a
best kind.
growing business for me, because the business aspect is a little bit newer than the rest. But yeah, it is all about kind of passion of wanting to contribute to
Hmm.
this world. And I always say it sounds really cheesy because everyone says that, but my goal is to make the world a better place.
Okay.
And so wanting to do that one person at a time.
Excellent. Great plan. Really, really great plan. I'm enjoying this.
Thank you.
So, before we wrap up, I'm going to put you in a full frame and you can give the viewing audience your elevator pitch as to why they should buy this book and who this book is for.
So this book is for you. Why you? Because every single human being is programmed to grow. As I mentioned earlier, growth is part of our DNA. This is something that we all have to do, but we need to do it in a wonderful way. And that's what Unapologetically Bold is. It's a book that will help everyone across generation to grow, to find themselves, to feel more balanced, to have an equilibrium between emotion and body, as well as to move forward and keep growing. So this book is for you.
Excellent. Well, you've convinced me, and hopefully you've convinced a few of the viewers here.
I hope so too.
Fabian, it's been a delight speaking with you, and your energy is just bouncing off the screen here. I'm really feeling every moment of it. It's excellent. Really nice talk.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It was wonderful being there.
And when you write another book, contact me. We'll have you back on, and I'll gladly have another conversation with you.
Absolutely. I will
Oh,
certainly make sure that I connect again.
okay,
But
Fabian.
thank you.
Okay. You have a nice day now. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for watching. If you like what I do here on Tell Me About Your Book, then please consider hitting that like button and leaving a comment. You could also subscribe and ring that bell because I release 2 episodes per week, one on Wednesdays and one on Saturdays. And if you are an author, I would love to hear from you. Until such time, keep on writing and be kind to one another.